back. You're listening to Houston Real Estate Radio. I'm your host, Shannon Register, and everything about the show can be found online at HoustonRealEstateRadio.com. We have beautiful HD videos of all the segments from all 4 years of the show can all be found online, archived there in the archives. So lots of great information there. If there's anything that you have a question about with real estate, you can look there for answers because we've got a lot of them there, or you can give us a call here at the studio and we'll answer your real estate questions. 844-788-9444 is the call-in number if you've got a real estate question. All right, this segment, we're going to talk about something that really hits home here in Houston. We have a lot of flooding, a lot of wind issues that happen here in Houston. And so we're talking about the insurance that goes along with that and why it's so expensive. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I've got Jay Olson here with me. He's the owner of Jay Olson Insurance Agency with Goosehead Insurance. And their office number is actually 281-402-8175. And if you go to the HoustonRealEstateRadio.com page, you see all of our sponsors there. So if you hear from somebody you like and want to talk to, you can always find them there. So Jay, let's talk a little bit about the rates and why they're so high in Houston.
Well, to quote a song, it's all about the wind. It's all about the hurricanes. The carriers are all afraid of that, and a lot of the insurance companies have to have their own insurance, reinsurance that can spread it around the world. And a lot of the companies, their reinsurance has said you got to cut it out. A lot of them actually need to reduce market share, so they're raising their rates and in some ways trying to actually get rid of people because they need to lower their market share. If you think of Houston as a clock, with the Woodlands being 12 o'clock, make your way down to Cypress, then Katy, then down to Sugarland, Pearland, and over towards the coast. The further you go down that clock, starting at the Woodlands is probably your easiest and least expensive. And the further you go down the clock towards Katy's a little bit more, Sugarland's a lot more, Missouri City, Pearland, it starts getting to be a lot more. And once you get closer to the coast, the coastal counties like Brazoria County, Galveston County, when they're that close to the coast, a lot of the insurance companies have just straight up, they wanted to pull out. And the state said, well, can't do that.
Yeah, what are those people supposed to do that live on the coast?
Yeah, those people need insurance too.
Sure.
Fair enough. Right. So basically they said, all right, fine. You're scared of the hurricanes. We'll take care of that. We'll set up our own state agency, the Texas Windstorm Association, and y'all can just cover everything else, cover the fire and theft and those things, which really aren't that big a deal for the insurer. Again, it's all about the wind. So the Windstorm Association takes care of that in the Brazoria and Galveston and those counties, the coastal counties, aka Tier 1. If you've seen a house, looked at a house, you might have heard that term. So TWIA, the Texas Windstorm Association, has stepped up and said, we'll cover that. The problem is that is a state. It's a state-run company, so it's not as strong of a policy. They've cut some out.
They don't cover as much.
They don't cover as much.
Okay.
They're.
But it might be your only option.
It might be your only option. Yes, you and a lot of people that is the only option.
It's your only option. It's your only option. But you could have more.
Yes, very few companies will write the wind. So you're dealing with the state association, the state company. They're notoriously hard to deal with, both to get a policy and to file a claim. But we actually have 3 companies that will write down there voluntarily. They will write the wind. So you'll get the same policy as you'd get in Sugarland or Katy or the Woodlands or wherever. And so you're not dealing with the state, and oftentimes it's a lot less expensive. So when we talk to folks down there, they're thrilled.
So is this separate insurance for wind damage, or is this just normal homeowners insurance for houses that are in an area with high wind?
Well, for folks in, say, Pearland, typically they will have 2 policies. They'll have a wind policy. So if a hurricane comes in or a hailstorm or tornado or whatever, anything wind or hail related, the state policy takes care of that.
Okay, and then they have homeowners still.
Then they have a regular home policy that excludes the wind.
And then they have flood too?
Yeah, flood's a whole other animal.
Boy, that's a lot of insurance on one house.
It is, and we get a lot of confusion, a lot of realtors, a lot of clients asking us about that. And basically all they're doing is the state is taking care of that portion of the wind, and it's actually very expensive. So to be able to put that all into one policy and help these folks out just as if they're in any other part of the city, it's really compelling, and usually it's a lot less expensive. So they're thrilled when we're able to do that.
So there are some benefits of using the Texas Windstorm Association.
Well, no, there's benefits of not using them.
Of not using them, okay.
Of using them, yeah. If you have to, then
it may be your only choice. But
yeah,
if it's
your
not
lender's going to require, your lender will require you have wind coverage, whether it's through the wind association or through one of the private companies. They'll require it. So yeah, it's certainly beneficial. It's that or nothing.
If they don't require it, then wind is covered under your normal policy, right? Or it's not ever covered under your normal policy?
Well, wind is covered under a normal policy. Okay. It's just once you get...
So like my normal homeowner's policy has wind because I'm not in a high-risk area.
Correct. Okay. It's just once you get into the wind, the Tier 1 areas, the state has said, insurers, y'all don't have to include wind in your policies.
So if someone's buying a house and they're not getting a mortgage, so the lender's not requiring it, how do they find out if they're in that category or not? When they go to get homeowners insurance, the insurer will tell them, hey, you need to get this also? Okay.
Yeah, they'll call us and we'll know that. Any agent's going to know that immediately.
So what are the negatives about it? Did we cover them all already?
Yeah, it's if you have to have it, you have to have it. But we try to avoid that if possible. We always look at our companies first that will write the wind, so you don't have to deal with the wind association. But if we can't, then we just go with that.
Okay, if you've got a little beach house right on Galveston, you're probably not going to be able to get another company to do it, right?
Yeah, that can
but
be
if
a little tricky.
Your neighborhood's back, maybe you could.
Yeah, especially for folks in Pearland and some of the, not right on the beach. Usually we can get folks into one of those companies and not have to deal with the wind association.
Okay, let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about flood insurance. Flood insurance, the rates are set by the state, right? So whether no matter who I call for flood insurance, I'm going to get the same quote, right?
Theoretically,
In theory? Okay.
In theory, it's a federal program. And again, insurers were pulling out of these places and the federal government said, no. We'll take care of the flood. Please stay there and write the fire and theft and all those things. So first of all, everything is a flood zone. People ask us, is something a flood zone? Is it not? Yes, everything's a flood zone. It's just how strong of a flood zone. And most people are in what's called a Zone X, and the lenders will not require you to have flood insurance at that point. But yes, you call around, and theoretically, it's a federal program. All the rates are the same. But the problem is there's a lot of tricks to knowing how to put in the flood zones, in the higher flood zones. There's grandfathering. There's various ways you can do the certificates, and you really need an expert on that because we'll get people calling in. They'll think a deal's going to fall through, and we'll say, well, let's take a look at it. And we're able to find some things that other less veteran agents aren't aware of. But theoretically, yes, it should be the same. But in practice, not always.
So where are the flood maps? How can you find out if you're in a flood area or if you're in that Zone X you were talking about?
There's not really a map per se. We just tell people, just call us and we'll run a quote on it. It's pretty simple and quick to do. And that'll tell us. And we also tell people, bring us in early in the process. Bring us in, if you're buying a house, bring us in during your option period so we can tell you what your options are while you can still do something about it. And we actually do that with our regular insurance as well. Call us. Let us be an asset to you while you still have some options.
So, Jay, I talk with people all the time, and they tell me, I've been with the same insurance agent for 15 years and never had a reason to change. I want you to tell me what makes a good insurance agent. What can you tell people out there who've had these policies with people for so many years? What can you tell them about what to look for an insurance agent? Is your insurance agent doing these things for you that they should be doing? Let's hear it.
One of them first of all, we can look at the coverage and see if
they're covering you properly.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and it's me personally, I can tell a good agent from a bad agent based on the coverage. Also, a lot of people have been passed around. They may have been with the same company, but it's their fourth agent, and they often don't even know who that person is at that point. But so two of the things that we're able to help with is, again, we're coming in early in the process of someone buying a house, and we can help them. We'll see that issue with the roof that the inspector just wants to see if the roof looks nice. We want to know how old it is because that really matters for what the insurance rate is.
Right.
So that might be something that they can negotiate. But also, if someone has a claim, instead of calling an 800 number, or some agents will just file it, we have an off-the-record conversation with them and say, hey, here's what your options are. And that's very important because if you file a claim,
because you don't represent that company. I mean, you kind of do, but you're not working for them.
And I personally don't care if people make a claim or not, but I want them to have the best advice because a lot of times we will see somebody with a claim on their record that paid nothing or very little, and it hurts their rate. And I'm like, whoever advised you should have told you don't make a claim.
Right.
And so that kind of go between is one of the ways that we can help. And that's me personally, one of the ways
See, that's one of the things I didn't like about my insurance company. When I was much, much younger, I called USAA and was like, this is what happened. Should I turn this in? Should I not? And they're like, oh, as soon as you called, you turned it in, right?
Yeah,
There's no going back from that.
If you're calling an 800 number.
Call and ask a question.
Yeah, if you're calling, they call those direct writers. If you're calling the 800 number, they're going to tick it off no matter what happens.
Right.
And that hurts. So that, again, we have the off the record conversation, and then we decide together, should a claim? Should we make a claim? Here's what your options are. And yeah, I think that's very valuable to people.
And you can work all over Houston, right? You're everywhere?
We're everywhere, including the hard stuff on the coast and the older houses. We really can do it all.
I'm going to send you some hard stuff. Some of these houses I sell. Be like, this one's hard to insure. Can you take care of this? All right. How can people reach you?
Best bet is to just give us a call, 281-402-8175. And my team or me, anybody can help you out.
Very good. 281-402-8175 for Jay Olson, the owner of Jay Olson Insurance Agency with Goosehead Insurance. We appreciate you coming back. You've been on the show before. We always enjoy having you, so thanks for coming in today. You are listening to Houston Real Estate Radio. We're going to hear from our sponsors real quick, and then we'll be back with more.